I'm Carl Sweat, and this is my presentation on Kandinsky. Begin with what could be called the neoclassical problem. Kandinsky saw paintings of the neoclassical period as being soulless because most of them copied their techniques from the ancient Greeks and Romans. And he saw that as soulless because it's just copying stuff from another period. It's not true to the zeitgeist of the time. So his objective becomes to create something that captures the zeitgeist and alters it as well. From this problem, Kandinsky's work emerges. I think is most fascinating about Kandinsky and abstract art in general is that it came about completely by accident. Kandinsky, when he was working in his studio in Munich, found in the afternoon light that his painting had been overturned, and he thought, wow, this says a lot more than a still life or a landscape or something of that nature. It speaks to me, and that is a pretty incredible thing. The form and color, the only relevant parts of Kandinsky's work say so much. The effect is very similar to a Rorschach ink blot, because what one sees in a Rorschach ink blot says a lot about who you are as a person, and in the same way, what one sees in a Kandinsky painting speaks volumes about who the interpreter, who they are as a person. But how do these works speak to the soul? Well, this effect is much more commonly found in music. They speak to the soul because music is innate in man. In the same way, form and color are innate in man. And Kandinsky puts a lot of influence on this point by that work concerning the spiritual nature of art is prefaced with a quote that speaks about music. And I wanted to illustrate this by playing a piece from the ambient band Stars with the Lid to show that art, just how does art speak to the soul? One of the ways that Kandinsky uses art to speak to the soul is that he uses negative space to create the illusion of floating objects. Another way is the axial rotation that he discovered in Munich. It's one thing to see a Kandinsky painting in a museum where it is only presented in a certain way, but it is a completely different thing to hold one in your hand and to turn it 270 degrees, to turn it 190 degrees, or what have you. Because in doing so, you're manipulating the painting in the same way that Kandinsky himself once did. thus creating a certain spiritual bond between artist and viewer. An important concept in Kandinsky's art is that of totalitarianism. For Kandinsky, totalitarianism means any society that prevents the acquisition of new and exciting experiences. This totalitarianism represents itself in art by form. A painting of a tree or what have you, it has to have a particular form in order to get its fairly one-dimensional message across, and it doesn't allow any other form, because that wouldn't be a tree. So Kandinsky tried not to convey an ambiguous message, but did not convey any message at all, and let the interpreter do the talking, to let the interpreter find his own meaning in art. Kandinsky had a divine love for his art. And what that means is he believed that a blank canvas is like a beautiful virgin that he slowly tames and falls in love with, and she slowly succumbs to his desires and his wishes. And this erotic concept is something that is often overlooked in Kandinsky's work, but it is important because it shows that his paintings are not simply decorative. They're not something you just hang up in your wall. They are living beings, living sentient beings to him. Kandinsky saw peasant life as the ideal. Their form of government after the dissolution of serfdom was fairly free. It allowed the peasants to have their own judges and have their own courts. And so he saw peasant life as the ideal, where totalitarianism simply doesn't exist. And this is best, the tranquility of peasant life is best represented in his painting Pastoral. For those of you who haven't been moved to the point of slumber by the droning on of both Stars of the Lid and I, have a wonderful winter break, and I'll see you later.